All right. Well, good morning, guys. Hey, just by way of introductions, for folks that aren't familiar with us, I'd love to go around the room, talk about who you are, what you do here at Pond Medics and dredgeSMART specifically. And then we're going to talk a lot today. And so if there's one thing that you want folks to take away from what you have to say today, what is that one thing that you want to leave them with? So I can pick on you, or you can volunteer.
Do you want to go first and introduce yourself, and then we'll go from there?
Yeah, you want to do that?
Let's do that.
All right, that's great. My name's Trent Lewis, and I've been at this for a little while with my wife, Emily, and we are the chief visionary officers. So we come up with the ideas, we create, we innovate, and I think if there's one thing that I want folks to take away from today, and even us around the table, is dredging doesn't have to be a scary thing. It could be planned, it could be purposeful, it could be organized, and it doesn't have to be a mad, chaotic thing where you feel like you've just lost control. And so I think we've developed that around this table. I think we've proven it in some very successful projects over the years. And so that's my takeaway. Don't be scared.
So, yes, Emily Lewis, and Trent and I started this a long time ago because I was a civil engineer and doing a lot of land development and building a lot of the ponds that we now get to service. In my dredgeSMART box is I'm engineer, but then also kind of in my Pond Medics box, I'm culture. I love my mama role. It's what I've been created uniquely for.
If people didn't hear anything else from you throughout this time, what's the one thing you want them to hear?
I want them to hear that the needing to have something dredged is not because you've done something wrong. It's not because things have gone wrong all around you, or it is a problem that should be anticipated. It's a scenario that should always be anticipated because every stream wants to run straight and every pond wants to fill in. And so if we're going to maintain a pond, then we're going to be fighting against a natural system. And in that fight against that natural system, we want to fight well. We want to have it be planned and a really worthwhile process. We want to know where we're taking sediment from and where we're putting it to, and we want to work well within the natural system to kind of fight against that natural system and encourage the pond to stay filled with water, not with sediment.
So if I heard you correctly, you're saying what happened for the pond to fill up is not somebody's fault.
Correct.
Like it didn't necessarily go wrong. It's to be expected.
Right.
So that's the takeaway, is like, expect it.
Right. And sometimes there's going to be situations where things have gone wrong. Like that's everything in this world, is things go wrong. And so BMPs have going to have failed, and there's things that have happened upstream, and they're going to really impact significantly downstream, and all of those things are going to happen. So the problem could be exacerbated quickly, but that you need to dredge, that's just part of the natural system.
Mm-hmm.
So Jared Connor, Chief Operating Officer for Pond Medics, and what's in my box, right, is I'm here to make sure we keep our promises. I get to build the team, I get to beat the drum, but also remove a lot of obstacles. And what's been enlightening about this whole process and learning dredgeSMART as we've developed it and continue through multiple iterations of it, it is so many times people are like, well, we need to dredge. Can you help us? And a lot of what we get to do in this is really define what success looks like. So we get to set the goalposts where it needs to be, and then we build a plan to that. And so we get to build a plan and then see it through. Just because there's a problem, so many people don't know what to do or what needs to be done. They just know, hey, fix my problem. There is so much involved, and you don't have to know everything, but if you know the right people, that can get solved. It can get solved well, and it can be a very pain-free process and an enjoyable process with the right team, helping you figure out what it needs to be and where it needs to go and how it's going to be done.
So Jared, the takeaway, if nobody hears anything else from you today, what's the thing you want them to remember?
Oh, all of what that was you said. That was the takeaway. So I didn't say, hey, this is the takeaway. Sorry. But yes, just that water isn't familiar for a lot of folks, and especially a dredging project isn't familiar. So to identify through this process what success really can look like and what it should look like, and based on your options and your budget and things, really defining where the goal is, and then having us, after we've helped you define that goal, determine and hold accountable the folks that are going to execute on that project. It becomes an enjoyable process versus this complete unknown, complete confusion, and I hope it went well.
Like we do that in so many other places in our life, right? I'm not an expert in taxes,
Right.
so I hire somebody to do my taxes,
Right.
because I'm not an expert in that area, and so we're just that expert in that area to help them, because we need to find experts in areas that we're not an expert in.
It's good to get good people to do good work.
Right.
That's an honorable thing.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm Jeff Biggs. I am the surveyor, drafter, permitter, GIS, tech, solver.
Is there anything you don't do,
If there's a
Jeff?
hat, Jeff has it. Yeah.
dredgeSMART was
Not much. Yeah, I'm kind of the go-to guy, I guess, for
You've traveled the world solving problems like this.
for the most part after 30 years of surveying in different aspects and countries and other things.
So what's unique about you doing hydrographic surveys?
Nothing. It's on the water.
It's on the water.
No, we've just developed over the years, kind of streamlined our methods, the technology, focusing a little bit more on maximum accuracy over the good enough surveys, as we call them. So over the years, we've gotten all our information and data to be a little bit tighter, more consistent, repeatable, which is very important for the long-term success of projects. And I think the overall takeaway would be that, yes, dredging doesn't have to be scary if you have somebody that can shine the light in the dark for you. There's an awful lot of little catch-me's involved with the environmental, physical, or just strategic assembling of a dredging project, that if you don't have somebody in your corner that has that light in the dark, then it's very easy to get lost in the weeds. And that's what dredgeSMART was built to do, was to help out with these kind of issues.
Yeah.
And solve these issues before they became major issues.
Right. That shine light in the dark. I think that's great.
Yeah, that's a good word.
That's a really good word.
Yeah, because really at the heart of it, dredgeSMART, we make the invisible visible. It's all underwater. And so
You can't see it.
you can't see it. You don't know it's coming. You don't know the magnitude of it. Once you're in the project, you don't know if it's complete or not. So I think that's a good word. We shine light into the darkness, and we make the invisible visible, and give insights to folks. So it's good. And I also heard you say, Jeff, that maybe not all surveys are created equal.
This is very true.
All right. That leaves you, Mr. Ronnie.
My name is Ryan Samuelson. I handle business development for dredgeSMART. I would say that the reason that I enjoyed the business development side is I've been part of numerous boards and commissions on the city side, and every time I've seen something on the procurement side, you very rarely see an apples to apples comparison. Everything's a little bit different, and with dredging, that seems to be the case on a lot of it. You'll get like a high, low, and a medium one where they're all either packing contingencies or planning on change orders or doing this stuff. So without like a dredgeSMART plan, you don't have that clear, defensible data of saying, hey, when the city needs this, you have to be able to say, we're going to take this out from here. Otherwise, you're just going to end up with a lump sum somewhere on the shoreline somewhere and just assume that they got it. So, and I think that this really is what kind of helps protect cities and HOAs and everybody else, and having proper dredgeSMART.
So what I heard you say is that dredgeSMART is the vehicle by which you can get comparable, competitive bids in order to make informed decisions, instead of having to say, well, that's an apple, this is an orange, what are the similarities? What are the differences? Like dredgeSMART brings it all in.
For sure, yeah. And I would say in my experience so far, I have not met one city that has a dredging expert on staff. So for them to kind of look at it, most of the time you're doing a lot of helping them through the process of something they've never dealt with before.
Okay. So how do we get here? How do we even get to a dredgeSMART dredging discussion? How do our clients, the people that we work for, the future clients, current clients, how do they know it's time to dredge? Because like Jeff said, we take the invisible, we make it visible, but how do we get the first phone call? And what does that first phone call look like when somebody says, hey, I need a dredge. I need a quote for dredging. Can you give me a number, a price? How does that phone call come in? What do you hear from folks on the other line saying, this is how I got here?
Most of the time it's from resident complaints saying, hey, this pond is filled with algae or mud, or I can't go fishing anymore because every time I try, there's just algae everywhere and I'm pulling up more algae than I am fish. And for the most part, it's from complaints, and they're being told that they need to dredge more than they know they need to dredge.
Okay. So maybe their lake management company has told them, hey, we've done all we can do to fight the algae, and the best next step for you is pull the mud out. And why? I mean, I think the why behind that is important. Why is it important to pull the mud out? I mean, Biggs, and I'm going to use Biggs today because I affectionately know you by Biggs. And Emily, we talk about this all the time, but the solution to pollution is dilution. So when sediment occupies that body of water and all the nutrients and all the things that allow algae to grow, the sunlight, the photic zone, the algae is it's in a nursery for growth. And so we pull sediment out, we get as deep as we can, as fast as we can, we eliminate the photic zone, we open up the water body for dilution. So is that a part of that equation of the client calls and goes, hey, my lake management company says they're doing all they can do to treat algae and it's not enough. They need it deeper. Is that part of the call that we get?
I would say most of the time.
Yeah.
I think you were trying to ask a question there, but I'm not sure I heard a question.
Yeah, it's kind of leading, wasn't it?
Yeah. I
That's
think you
the only
answered your
time
own
that happens today.
question.
No, you're good.
Yeah.
You're good. That's it. That's the only one.
Yeah.
I would say another reason that we get called for dredging is, I mean, it's not another reason. It's the same reason. It's the root every time. It's why dredging is necessary. But there have been some instances where the sediment is actually mounding above the water surface level. And when that begins to happen, so we're talking about permitting and all of that stuff. But really the reason, back to 20 plus years ago when I was working as a civil engineer, the purpose for the ponds was not so much the pond itself, but rather storage from the water surface level above. So that storage is necessary for flood containment, like to keep the houses around it from flooding. It's on a creek, or maybe it's not on a creek. Maybe it's just detention because you've built a bunch of houses where a bunch of grass used to be. And so runoff from a bunch of houses is going to be far more significant than where runoff from a bunch of grassland or trees or whatever. So those ponds were built to hold and detain water on that piece of property and then release only undeveloped flow to the next piece of property. So the purpose of the pond is not that it's pretty and has a fountain and all of that stuff. The actual purpose is for flood control and detention, right? So now if you have sediment that's mounding above the water surface level, we've reduced volume of storage, and that becomes a problem for cities. Even above and beyond it's aesthetically displeasing, but it's a problem for cities because now we don't have the volume of storage that we needed to have in order to hold back or detain or mitigate for floods.
You talk about cities. Who are our customers? Like I've heard HOAs, I've heard cities. Who else would be a dredgeSMART customer and need to dredge?
Private landowners, and then also commercial developments. So folks that don't land in that municipal, and this is what's interesting. I was like on the backside of what Emily was saying, like one of my favorite and least favorite call to get is, hey, we did a dredging project. We need to do another one. The last one was terrible. Which I love that we get the opportunity to help them, but I hate that they had such a poor experience on the go before. And so a lot of times, especially on the commercial side, where you're seeing ton of runoff, tons of development upstream as they can, shocking, DFW continues to build out, right? So as they've now been established and things are happening, they've gone through a process where they had a project, and then because of the lack of satisfaction in that, now they're calling us for the next round of things. Because like you said earlier, it's natural. It's going to happen. And it's going to happen again.
Right.
And then go ahead and plan for it to happen again,
Right.
because that's the way that it's going to work naturally. And so when they've had that poor experience and they call and say that we don't want this. This was not enjoyable. It was quite awful. We felt like we overspent. We have no data to back up how we even feel.
Yeah.
Right. To help us determine how we should judge the previous experience. And so favorite and least favorite call.
Yeah. So
Right. But that goes to what your takeaway is that we're the expert. Like you want to hire an expert that has, I don't know, I can't quantify my expert more than that, but you want to have, you want
Highly
to
rated
have
SME.
a highly rated expert, right? So, you can just go find back to the, finding somebody to do your taxes. You can just, get on ChatGPT and say, hey, ChatGPT, what do I need to do? And how do I need to do this? And that's going to give you one answer. But going to somebody who's done this for 20 years is going to give you a different answer.
And this is the biggest
I
challenge.
think there's a big difference on the expert you're looking at. You can go to a very good tax specialist, or you can go to H&R Block. And H&R Block's a tax expert, but you're not going to get the same kind of care from H&R Block that you are from, a guy that's been doing taxes on his own for years and years and really looks out for the best interest of the customer.
Right. And cares about his client specifically.
And is looking to have return clients over and over again, year after year after year. That tax specialist is going to put some more effort into getting you everything back, guiding you for next year for all your write-offs and all these kind of things.
And know the things that you need and be able to speak to the things that you need specifically versus just, hey, this is the way it goes.
Here's fill this form, this form, this form, give me this, and here's your taxes done. There's a big difference in levels of expertise. Right. And I think we kind of bring that higher level of expertise where it's a repeatable, it's a consistent, we've been here 20 years, and we're going to continue to be here for these people, especially in our area, to rely on year over year over year and give those better results.
And to that end, like, there's a right customer for this type of solution. And there's plenty that it's not important enough to go this route in terms of dredging planning and things like this. And you make a thing work. And eventually that may come back and bite you. And like you asked the question, like, why are you guys different and special? Well, moving of mud, we do it really well, but in terms of dredging, that's not our specialty. Our specialty is the planning piece of things. And so you have dredging contractors that typically start the conversation, and they're great at moving mud, but identifying where the mud needs to come from so that you get the best result inside of the pond, the lake, the reservoir. That's the specialty that we really bring to this. So not that dredging contractors are great. The knowledge of how the lake and how the water body, what's going to bring it success for what you want to do with it, is the difference that we bring in this scenario.
Yeah, for sure.
So that makes me think of the Pond Medics way. Somebody what's the Pond Medics way?
So listen, innovate, propose, deliver, feedback, and follow up. And you're listening for what is success? What have you tried? What's worked well? What hasn't worked well? And then come up with new solutions that are going to be not innovative for the sake of innovation, but innovative in a way that it's going to bring you the most value
for each client,
for the success, whatever success is. And I'm not here to judge you on what success is. Now, we're going to be prudent about the way that we look at the ecosystem, we look at the water body, we look at how the space is being used, but the intention. We can help you discover a little bit of that, but we're going to innovate for most value, most success for what you've got. And after we've listened and we've talk through things, then we're going to propose solutions. And as we're walking through this, there's going to be a lot of discussion about what's great, what options there are. And it's not to inundate or to overdo things, but it's to bring awareness to what path can we take and what's it going to look like 5, 10, 15 years from now. Not just, hey, how do we get a project done, but how do we set this thing up for success long term? Then there's lots of feedback and follow up as we go to make sure that we're exacting the most value for every dollar that's available that's to be spent on this project, and for the outcome that you want for, what are we, 2026 now? March of 2031, right? And March of 2036 and March of 2050, right? Because that's where we're at now.
Yeah.
And lots of things are coming down the track.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, you talk about the time frame. The Texas Water Development Board, their job is to provide water to the future cities, and in the same way that they plan their projects 50 to 70 years out. So the water that we're drinking today is because somebody started the planning process 70 years ago.
Yeah.
It's very similar in terms of dredging. You need those insights in that planning tool and everything to be able to do that dredging project in 2031.
Well, so back to that, the SCS ponds. Many of the ponds in our area are
What's an SCS ponds if somebody's just tuning in?
Yes, soil conservation service. They were originally dug and built to for farmers, for crops, like
Flood control,
sedimentation control.
A lot of them are built right above creek systems or along like the Elm Fork Trinity or Spring Creek.
And most of them were built, and it all started just right after the Dust Bowl, right? Like all of these started right after the Dust Bowl. So
its purpose was because of all the farming where you're turning up all your soils.
Right.
So you're getting all your topsoil washed away. They're installing the SCSs to capture that topsoil before it got into the lakes and river systems to prevent the lakes and rivers from sedimenting,
right.
filling with sediment.
So all of these lakes and all these SCS lakes they're big, and many developments are built around these SCS lakes, are at their, like, they've reached their lifetime. They've
reached their limit.
They have reached their lifetime.
but it was planned.
They're trying to make an amenity out of something that shouldn't be an amenity.
Yeah, but it was planned that way. It was planned
Right.
that they had a 50, 60, 70-year lifespan, and now they've gotten to that age. They've served their purpose.
Right. They did their job.
Yeah.
Right.
And now they're sold.
And when they were built out just way out in the country, like I said,
Right.
Above farmland. So when that material comes, that topsoil washes out of that farmland, it gets caught there, and so they get carried down into the rest of the water systems. And as all the expansion is getting into those old farmlands, rural areas, they see a lake out there, there's a 22-acre lake. Man, what an amenity.
It's great.
That 22-acre lake's only 4 foot deep across the entire thing. And it's got about 20 foot of sediment in it, in the dew spots.
Yeah.
Right.
Those are completely different types of water bodies.
All right, so we've done a lot of things over the years at dredgeSMART. We get the phone call. People say, I need help, and they're already behind. They already feel behind. And so it's already becoming an expensive process. We've talked about some ways to help them even early on when they have very little resources, they have very little hope, like they're just now engaging, and maybe they can't do anything as soon as they want to, but we're going to set them up for success in doing it when it's appropriate and it's time. So we developed this dredgeSMART dashboard, and it's to give real-time insights into what's happening within their body of water, what their current capacities are, what their current levels are, how things are changing over time, what is trending, and that type of thing. But I want to take the dashboard into really a municipal arena that will also translate into some HOA application as well. So the dashboard is designed for HOAs and cities. Not to say it couldn't be used for a private landowner, but it's really designed around this scale of we've got so many stormwater assets. How do we get our head wrapped around it? So just to walk through this real quick, we start at current state. We start at the current state of the pond. You've made the phone call. You know there's a problem or there might be a problem. What do? We assess the current state. And then we move to planning. Like what needs to happen now or later, like Jeff mentioned earlier. And even Ryan, you were like, they call. We go do a current state assessment and find out that there's nothing immediate that needs to happen. We've saved people. We've surprised people. Like I think about some folks out west, cities where they go, man, we've got a big issue. And we go out there and we do a current state assessment and there's no issue. And
They think it's a big issue because the folks that were using the tools before weren't as Jeff, I'll let you jump in here, but as accurate and as deep dive into recovering the details needed.
We're using the wrong equipment for the job.
I mean, I don't want to say it that way, but that's what it is.
Well,
yeah.
Well,
For the job needed.
but you know what? I do think that's important.
You know,
because
there's
a lot of times the
difference
current
between a ball peen hammer and a sledgehammer.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I
Certain
do
ones
think
do
that the
certain
current
things.
state, and Jeff mentioned this, but not all surveys are created equal.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think it's really important for folks to know that a survey is not a plan.
Right.
A survey is a part of a plan, but it is not the plan.
It is an identifier.
It is an identifier. And so, you know, when we engage folks in this process in dredgeSMART in phase 1, where we pull in the data, we do some discovery around the site and permitting and that type of thing, that's not the end. Like it's just the beginning so we can put together the plan. So the current state, we have to know what's happening. And then that data is going to go into the planning. What do we need to do now, maybe in the midterm and in the long term? But for cities specifically, I want to talk about this process. It does bleed into HOAs, but talking about pre-construction, before any dirt is moved in an HOA or for a city park or for a commercial site, it is important to take all of the bodies of water downstream and as much as it is possible, get some data before dirt is turned. So that pre-construction piece is like going into your doctor and it's like getting a baseline blood work. We're going to make some changes in your health and the way that you do life. We want to see if that's actually impactful to the bottom line. That's your pre-construction planning. It gives us that baseline to work off of as we move around. So then we've got that data in pre-construction, and then construction comes up. And during construction, there's going to be some compliance that happens during the progress of the construction phase. I'd love to know from you guys, when we move from pre-construction to construction, what are the things that we cannot go back and get data from once dirt's been moved? Because we get this a lot. People are reactive. They're like, oh, I didn't know this was going to be a problem. Now it's a problem. What can I do? Can they do forensics? Like reading tree rings, could you tell how old or how much new sediment is from impact upstream? It's really difficult to do. Like there are some soft forensics, but it's really difficult to do. So once you've
I
moved,
think it's cheaper to actually do the construction.
it's what?
It's cheaper to do the construction than to do all the figuring on the cost of lab works and all that for forensics, especially since most of the soils are coming from the same sources.
Yeah.
It's pretty difficult.
Yeah. So I think this is a good takeaway because once construction has started, it's really difficult to go back and correct a lot of things. You almost have to hit the reset button.
Well, and that's where it's important to have the history of the pond and the surveys from years past to be able to plan it all out. That way, if something does happen upstream where you have a BMP fail, you can then go back and look and say, hey, we were only averaging this until you guys started construction there. And then this last year, we added 3,000 more cubic yards than we've normally seen.
Yeah. Historical data is super important.
Yeah.
That's why this is really a cycle because this process never ends. You don't do a dredging project and say, we're done forever. Now, the interval, the length of the cycle may vary, but you're going to have to come back to it at some point.
Well,
So
so
we're-
back to the current state, and you're talking about it's an image. So to the doctor situation, it's like having an x-ray, right? Or a CT scan or something, so that you can see into what it looks like right now.
Mm-hmm.
And again, like, because I think that's part of the pre-construction, that you have a current state survey, then just like what Ryan is saying, when you go further down after construction, you go further down the line, like, you still have what it was to start off with. That's still important. That's really important information.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
once we get into construction, as dirt starts moving, we've got some compliance measures that we can do. Our BMPs failing, how do we go in and measure the impact of those BMPs failing? We do progress checks. So as the dirt's moving and storm events are happening and water is moving, we're checking in on the progress. Like, we don't want to start construction and then do something after construction, because there may be an opportunity before all the infrastructure gets in. There may be an opportunity to remedy these things before it's hugely expensive down here.
Well, and Jeff, does dredging happen in a day? No. And you don't skim the whole pond inch by inch. Like, it's the way they work across it. There are ways to make those checks happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's helpful to know what's happening in this cycle right here between construction all the way down here.
Well, and even to that end, the benefit of the dredgeSMART process, both for owners, for contractors, there's a clear level of accountability to what the standard's going to be. And as you go, like, there are no hidden elements out there that, unless we all uncover them together, right? But there are no hidden elements to success. And so that we can raise that standard as we go. So say you get a great contractor, there's no issue ever. But if you, I mean, there are contractors that can sometimes be a struggle. But if we start them early on making sure that they're accountable to the work that's been set in front of them, you can get them on a path to still a successful project. Now, did they do a great job estimating things like that? Like, that's a different story. But in terms of what the customer's going to get, the people that we work for, they're going to get exactly what they had designed and then ultimately paid for it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. This is the most critical phase, because, again, if we're doing what we need to be doing in here, then we can catch it here and make it less expensive than just doing one down here.
For everybody.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
Everybody.
Right.
Yeah, it's good for everybody.
vendors,
It's good for the contractor. It's great for the contractor, as a matter of fact, because if you knew about it up here and you could remedy it as a contractor, I'd much rather that than be surprised down here and
Right.
there's zeros added to that.
And we haven't talked about this, but in that pre-construction and planning, because oftentimes dredgeSMART will be involved in the RFP process and vetting these vendors, these contractors are going to be coming in and doing this. You can get a real quick understanding of, hey, are they going to do the right thing? Are they going to make sure that they do everything necessary on their side? And are they, not that we're coaching and teaching, but are we actually working together on this project? That stuff gets vetted out before they ever hit the water, which is great for everybody.
Yeah. And again, we're talking about the dredgeSMART dashboard. These are parts of the process that the dashboard informs.
Yes.
So every step along the way, this dashboard is informing these parts of the process. So we've built a commercial building. We have put in a development in a city. We have gone through this, and now the project is done. What needs to happen in post-construction? Maybe there's a CO in the balance, like a certificate of occupancy. Maybe the contractor has a retainer in the balance of what needs to happen for these final things to close in a project from the dredging side or the insights side.
It's usually going to be a follow-up survey or post-construction survey to identify the project was performed to completion.
Okay. Are there any things, like, let's say, for instance, there are U.S. Army Corps of Engineer permits. If there's any permitting that takes place, what are some of the things that we need to close and maybe activate once the project's done?
That's just submittal of the sign-off of the permit. on any of the core permits that the project is complete and no longer in process.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of substantiating data that goes into that.
Yeah, there's some data, but
No, it's just
well, but from the
permit
mitigation
holder
side, let's
Right.
let's say that our project had some
Yeah.
mitigation,
Yes.
and maybe there is a compliance
Yeah.
or a monitoring phase,
Mm-hmm.
then that would activate the monitoring phase of the mitigation. So, okay, so we've got all that. The project's done. The neighborhood's in. The shopping center is in. Everything's wrapped up. Talk to me about the maintenance piece, because are we done? Is that it? Like,
Is it fixed for forever?
fixed for forever?
no.
So what is involved in the maintenance? Because these really, I mean, they're kind of cyclical like this, because we're monitoring and we're maintaining over time. But what things are we looking for? And what's the dashboard going to show us in terms of the data?
I think it's going to show you new sedimentation, issues where you've got both upstream and around the pond, where you got additional silting, erosion, things like this that are affecting the ecosystem, the holding capacity, and there are going to be issues for the future that have to be planned for, whether you're paying for them or not, right? Like that monitoring and maintenance phase is going to bring to light continuing challenges with water wanting to go straight and wanting to go downhill. And the things that it brings with it, and the things that it tears up along the way that are coming with it. So
you've kind of level set the
Mhm.
trend line, and now you're looking for a new trend line in the maintenance and monitoring.
Because you're going to have all kinds of things like, dredging brings about new things. You've gone into a natural ecosystem and you've messed it all up, and you've pulled a bunch of stuff up, and everything that was down at the bottom that had no oxygen now has lots of oxygen, and that there's just a lot of things that happen after dredging. So you might have some aquatic plants grow up quickly after a dredging situation. So maybe you've come back in and you have a bunch of cattails that have grown up because you've recently dredged, and now maybe you don't want to mitigate for those cattails until they get to a certain point. And now these cattails are keeping you from being able to see your water fountain or being able to get to fish. And so now you need to take all the cattails out. Well, taking all the cattails out, that's probably going to bring about more sediment into your pond than you've had than what your natural trend line would be.
So I hear you saying that everything's connected.
Everything's connected.
Like we're going to go through these lists, but then the holistic pond and lake management, you've got chemical, physical, biological, and cultural elements.
Right.
And dredging is largely physical, the physical movement of water and sediment, but that does impact your water chemistry. Like chemicals is not the chemicals that we put in the water, but it's the water chemistry. And when you dredge out old sediments, there are layers of legacy sediments down there that have stored up phosphorus, which is the root cause to your water quality issues. So the question is, after construction is done and the dredging project is complete, is there a maintenance plan in place that handles all of these, because all of them are going to be affected?
And through this process, did you know a plan was coming, which is a great benefit, but it's the right question. And not only did you fix the thing, but are you still planning for the future?
We've seen a lot of that in terms of somebody's called and said, hey, I want to dredge. I know I need to dredge. Somebody told me I need to dredge. I'm not interested in planning. I just want to spend the money to get the sediment out. And then they finish the project. They call us back and they go, hey, I have a problem. Like, I actually have more water quality and algae issues, plant issues now than I did in the past. Or we even had one that said, hey, we did the dredging and now we have shoreline failure.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why did you have shoreline failure? Because the contractor was not getting paid on the proposed contours. He was getting paid on material.
Well,
so he compromised the shoreline.
Yes. And you see it a lot of times connected with what's supposed to still stay there to help save these things, to save the shoreline, to save the banks, to make the thing work.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes they're just not considered when you're not adding the planning element.
Yeah. And again, back to the dredgeSMART process and the dredgeSMART dashboard, it is to bring in and integrate all of these things, the chemical, biological, physical, and cultural, it's designed to bring all that in because there are unintended consequences to dredging. And if you only hire a contractor, if you only just do the minimum in order to remove mud, you're creating a scenario and setting the stage for unintended consequences that you're now going to have to go pay for again.
Whether that's in the pond or they just leave the dredge bag there for 18 to 24 months and there wasn't a plan for the removal from the site or the repurposing of the material. So, I mean, there's so many layers.
Yeah. All right. So we're doing the maintenance, we're doing the monitoring, and the maintenance could even be like a sediment maintenance in terms of there's some little piles that are right in front of the stormwater inlets where they've gone through the curb and gutter, they're piling up. We can mobilize some small machines, remove that easier than waiting for a big project. So we're taking it smaller chunks instead of a big chunk. But through this, we're also having to do some more planning because this is not the end. Like even if we do the maintenance and the monitoring, there's still going to be some things because water is ever moving, it's ever changing.
Right.
Yeah. So this dashboard will help inform the next plan. And then I think most importantly, it will help an HOA and a city help an HOA or a commercial site to create future reserves for future projects.
No, everybody loves paying in big chunks.
So I have a couple of comments on that. I mean, okay, so my first one is that the dredgeSMART dashboard will you don't have to start in the construction and a full dredging project to make that. You can start with the current state and move straight into maintenance and monitoring. If you're in a position where you don't need to dredge right away and be able to plan.
This is not relevant, so you go from here to here.
Right.
That's the
So-
most painful way to get there.
Right. And the more painful way is to go all the way around the circle. You can circumvent the circle and go straight across and go straight to maintenance and monitoring. My second thing is that neighborhoods, homeowners associations, they kind of have a life cycle, if you will, right? So here's the brand new homes, the new homes have come in, people have come and bought those new homes, and those are that's a primary residence for those new home buyers, right? And then you get 20 years down the road, and those are now maybe many of them are rental homes, maybe many of them. So there's a life cycle to a neighborhood, and that will impact what maintenance looks like. That will impact what your watershed looks like in that homeowners association or in that neighborhood. And that impacts how you plan for future reserves. That impacts what their goals are for that body of water. It changes over that life cycle, which is, again, why the dashboard can be so helpful is it can address those life cycles and look at what's coming in the future.
Yeah. I think life cycle is a great word for that because there's a life cycle to the project itself. There's a life cycle to the board of directors that are making decisions. There's a life cycle to the neighborhood and its infrastructure. And the reserve studies are built around that.
Right.
I was just going to say, like, you talk about life cycles, and because they turn over as often as they do, and I don't know that it's made fully aware to a lot of folks, but you just see different managers, different management companies, different boards, even different engineering departments kind of roll through people across time. And we wildly, and I don't think expectantly, become the historians for a lot of this.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if that data can be consolidated into a place that whether you've got new people, new systems, new ways of gathering that information, all that information is consolidated, and you got a story that's been told and been documented, you can still plan exceptionally well.
So the dashboard is
The
really,
dashboard does that.
it's a storyboard
Yes.
because the moment that you get started using the dashboard and tracking this information, it is giving you a narrative. It's telling you exactly what your watershed is doing.
I think it's exponentially more helpful to come into this storyboard in a place where it's like a peaceful understanding rather than a traumatic experience of just being in panic and trying to figure it out than starting current state, going through maintenance, going all the way around there, and then hitting that planning for construction. Because if you're coming at it in that, the biggest effect you're going to get from this is peace of mind over the life cycle that on.
So you're saying you don't have to be in a state of emergency in order to become a dashboard user.
We would prefer you not to be.
Ideally, you don't.
Yeah.
Like
But
ideally,
it's
you
well
you
before the
enter the
emergency.
cycle when things are peaceful and at rest.
Now we're still happy to help those folks, but for you and for best budgeting long term, because assessments are brutal, right? People they don't know they're coming until they've arrived, and it's I mean, I own a house in an HOA, and I don't read minutes. I don't look like that's not been my story. So to be surprised and that stuff come up is tough. I think that's the traditional way that people go about.
So I have a quick analogy, and that is that I just have a friend who their house literally just burned to the ground, right? So their house just burned to the ground, and we want people to come, like, please come to us if your house is burned to the ground and you need a new house, right? Please come to us because we want to help you do that in a way that is going to be life-giving to you. Also, if you're in a house and you want a new house, come and talk to us as you plan to get to the new house in that peaceful state, right? In that state of rest. Then we want to be life givers in that as well.
Well, I want to mention this too, is that the dashboard goes beyond being proactive. It now becomes predictive.
Yes.
And in so much as we can predict what's about to happen, in so much as we can predict what's about to happen, we can be at rest as we walk through this process. And so it does not have to be hair on fire, emergency, traumatic. The best time to enter, the best time to plant that tree is right now for the future.
And in a non-traumatic way, this information is presented in a way that's digestible. Like you don't have to know hydrology to understand the dashboard. It's going to tell you how long you got until the next thing is likely coming. And we'll continue to update that as we continue to populate with more data and look at more trends. And so it's in a way that lay folk in terms of dredging are concerned can understand.
Yeah, and we want the dashboard to be something that you have access to, and you can pull it before a board meeting or you can pull it before a planning meeting, right? Because the city can utilize the dashboard across their entire landmass. And they can understand what is happening in every body of water so that they can help their residents plan for that even better. So it is mutually beneficial for both. In terms of the dashboard, when you enter, the sooner you enter, the better off you're going to be in the planning. It doesn't mean that it's not helpful, even if you're in an emergency, but typically in an emergency, the dashboard is going to be something we follow up with on the maintenance and monitoring side after we get the big reset button done.